RFID stands for Radio Frequency Identification, and the cards that we used in our project all had RFID chips built into them. This is the same kind of system that credit cards use to pay by tapping. The cards that we used had predefined codes which we were able to read and then translate into our names according to each individual card. Using the same premise, we can expand and create more projects such as a security system that can help identify people individually, or a way of checking employee or student attendance at school or work.
RGB stands for red, green, and blue. Using these colors, we can make any color on the visible light spectrum. This RGB matrix is a small version of a bigger RGB panel meant to at malls, electronic billboards, and other locations. The panel have small RGB LEDs which you can control individually. These LEDs are combined together to make a bigger image or pattern.
There are a few different kinds of LEDs that Creatron carries, and each of the different types uses a different resistor value. Resistors are small ceramic coatings on wires, which limit the current that travels through a circuit. This is important when dealing with smaller components such as LEDs to make sure that the current is not too high and it won't burn out the LEDs. Based on each of the current, voltage, and wattage measurements of each LED, we were able to calculate the appropriate resistor value and arrange them in an organized sequence.
A 3D printer is a printer that prints objects to the third dimension. Using a 3D printer, you can make different types of objects from small to big. With this technology, you can make any object you want. Some developers have gone as far as printing cells, prosthetic, and artificial organs. As 3D printing advances, we are able to create more complex objects such as houses, circuit boards, statues, and more.
While we were at Creatron, we had a few responsibilities outside of the projects we worked on. In the video, you'll see that we did some inventory and restocking hooks whenever they got a new order of parts. When we took inventory, we had to count each of the items on the hooks and then note down the number of items that could be added to each of the hooks based on the part numbers to organize them all.
Personally, I like programming rather than hardware and circuits and wiring, just because they're not only limited to what you can make in real life, but you can make anything you want on the computer. So the two main languages that people might know, such as Java, C++, or Arduino. The one that we used at Creatron was Arduino. Arduino is basically a language which has two languages but combined. And with Arduino, you can't just make stuff on the computer, you can also make it in real life. So you can power up LEDs, light bulbs, many other parts such as motors. At Creatron, we had different type of parts related to Arduino. So we had sensors, we had motors. Some of the sensors were ultrasonic sensors, so it can sense distance from a wall to the actual sensor. There were gas sensors, infrared sensors, so you can control something with a remote. Arduino is really open source, so you're not only limited to what you know. People around the world can actually help you with what you want to do. So it's not what you can make by yourself, but it's what you can do with the community.
So aside from the technical side at our co-op placement, we learned a lot of stuff about how retail businesses work. For example, aside from the projects we worked on, all the different parts around the store needed to be taken inventory of, and we also had to restock some of them. So the process went like, we had to take inventory off of the shelves, count how many items were on hooks and how many needed to be replaced, and then using the extras that we had, we'd either tell them to order more or we'd replace the ones that were missing on the shelves. So this is just a little bit about what we did as far as the non-technical side goes. We also interacted with customers. We helped them with the parts that they needed to pick out, locating them in the store and giving a few different pointers as to what kind of parts to use. And all this kind of helped us a lot just in figuring out what technology was like working when you're selling it rather than using it every day. Aside from that, our co-op placement from the beginning of the semester was very positive. The first few weeks when we were doing our assessments and making resumes and all of the professional stuff in the background, there was we already had our co-op placement selected, and there was only a few things that we had to do, make an arrangement with our teacher to get us placed at Creatron. And overall, I think this helped us choose our paths in the future very well, just because it gave us a little bit more insight on what to expect from working in retail selling electronic parts. So this isn't necessarily what we want to do in the future, but it just lets us know a little bit about what kind of things people are doing with them, interacting with all the customers. We listened to what they were doing with all these parts, and based on that, we can kind of have an idea of what we'd be doing maybe in university or as a job in the future, and what we'd be using parts like these for. And overall, yeah, we just had a very positive experience, and definitely I'd recommend it to somebody else if they have any questions or any concerns about working in a certain field, just because you get to do so much hands-on stuff. And yeah,